What's up, Bulls fans, and welcome back to another episode of It's Brewin at McEwen. I'm Adam Cartwright, your host this evening, and with me is Mark Giardino. Mark, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. It's Thursday evening here. I actually watched a bit of the Bulls March Madness game earlier today. Man, it was an interesting game. I mean, to see us go down 23 points, but then fight back to get it to within four. The guys played really hard and they had a great season for the first time in school history, winning the regular season conference and the tournament conference. So great season overall. Glad to see the Bulls back in March Madness for the first time in 14 years. So that was cool.
So, I am admittedly not a basketball guy, right?
Yeah.
As the guys will attest to that. To the point that usually I do know when March Madness is happening. I did not know it was happening this time again. It slipped up on me. But so
That
you say
just
14
shows
years.
that just shows the fans how locked in you are on baseball though.
I
Yeah.
am. I am locked in. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I told him like I just find a baseball game, That's what I
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
now. I don't even watch
Uh,
Sports Center.
that's fun.
But this is the first time since Anthony Collins and those guys, right? Is that the
Yes.
last time that
Yeah,
we had
that's
made
the
it?
last
Yeah.
time.
I was actually locked into basketball that
Were
season.
you?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was probably one of the last times, but maybe I just got hurt. So, but it was a great season, right? I think
Yeah.
that's kind of what needs to be highlighted at this moment. I know it's a tough loss, right? But 64 teams, is it 64?
Yeah, 64,
Right?
68, whatever, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure where they're at now, but
Yeah.
there's 300 plus, maybe even 400 plus with basketball programs out there, and so just to make it back to that point, winning that was the first conference tournament win, and
I think
I
like in 36 years
the
or something.
stat I saw was this was our first final since like 1990.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I
It's
don't
been
need,
a long time.
and I don't know if that meant we won that one or not. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
true. That's a good point. I'm not sure
So,
either.
absolutely an amazing, amazing season for the boys, and as it always happens, when you have a great season in the group of five, the coach rumors happen. We saw it with Alex Golish. We're seeing it now with Coach Hodgson. Again,
I
haven't
think the
really
G is
followed.
silent, so I
The
think it's
G is
Hobson.
silent, right? Okay.
Almost positive, yeah.
Um, so again, we're gonna hope he stays. We'll do everything to get him to stay. But this is a baseball podcast, so we're gonna get on to baseball. We're gonna talk about it. We got a series with Columbia to talk about. We've got a Jacksonville win to talk about. Bulls are on a 9 game winning streak. It just really sneaks up on you, right? When you look up and we're 18-3, and you're just like, wow, we really haven't lost that much this season. But talk about that. We'll talk about what our conference mates were doing. And then again, we got some rankings to talk about, right? Which is something that the Bulls might need to get used to. We do all this winning. We're going to start getting numbers by our names. Um, and then we'll get out of here talking about Rice that we got coming up. So let's get right into it. On Friday night, it was a 6-3 victory. Edwin Alicea got his fourth win on the season, 4-0 for our Friday night guy. Um, what were your thoughts on that Friday night with Alicea?
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting because going to the series, I didn't really expect Columbia's pitching to be all that good, but it turns out that that Friday night guy was actually pretty solid. I think he was throwing pretty hard. He looked pretty good. He held us scoreless there for the first 4 innings of that game. I want to say we were being no hit for like the first 3 innings. So he
It
was
was slow
looking.
starting.
It was definitely a slow start, and then really in that bottom of the fifth inning, I noticed we were just kind of getting to him a little bit. I think he gave up like a walk or two. He was kind of losing his composure a little bit. Things weren't really going his way. We got the bases loaded, and Jacob Green was able to come through with a clutch hit to kind of break open that game a little bit. We also ended up getting RBIs that inning from Eli Thomas and Nate Early. So. But yeah, when I was watching that game live, I was kind of surprised how Colombia's pitcher kind of came out of the gates and looked pretty solid. And then we really didn't do any scoring besides that one big inning, but that's all we needed. But yeah, that was kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, when you pitch well, really we only needed half of what, or a little more than half of what we got there. But we pitched really well. We didn't give anything up until the eighth inning. When Alicea kind of began to wear down. He's getting stretched out longer now. He's got into 7.2 innings. And what I thought was interesting about this start is we know he has strikeout stuff, but this was maybe the first game that we saw that he really wasn't getting the strikeouts. But he was getting the outs. And so that's good to see. Like on a night when maybe you're not getting the strikeouts, maybe the ump isn't getting calls that maybe you're used to getting, guys are just putting bat on it. You're able to still maybe draw that weak contact and get outs. Also great to have Caden Smith come in. 4 outs, struck out two. Did have one earned run, but it did
Yeah.
not end up affecting him
Well,
in the end.
the other thing I remembered about that game too was that Alsea was scoreless through 7 innings. And you're right, we really are stretching him out. I mean, he ended up having in this game 107 pitches. So that's something to monitor, I think. And I know that when Coach Hannas was on our show, like before the season, that in one way or another, he kind of wished with Corey Braun, I think, that he would have maybe saved him more a little bit for the conference tournament because we needed that conference tournament. However, we might be playing so well this year that we may have an at-large kind of like already, potentially locked up before Clearwater. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how he'll manage Alisea like throughout the year. If he's gonna, he doesn't really necessarily have to give him a Corey Braun level workload because we have the way more pitching depth than last year's team.
Mhm.
So maybe this won't be the norm, but I think for at least to see him get ramped up to 100 something pitches, that shows you that that's what he can do, which I think we obviously want to have that on Friday nights. Even if you think about regionals, if you can be in a regional and have your Friday night guy pitch 8 innings, you're saving the rest of the bullpen for the rest of the regional. So I definitely see the vision there. But yeah, Caden Smith came in, did give up that 3-run home run, which ended up resulting in the 2 runs charged to Alisea. But no harm, no foul. We had a 6-run lead. He calmed down after that, and he did a good job to get the last 2 outs of the game in the ninth inning via strikeout. And he looked good, Caden Smith, as he usually does, and his stats for the season are good too.
Yeah, I'm glad you reminded me of that because I remember watching that game. I thought maybe because the lefty, who hit it? Because he was
Yeah.
like pretty much their offense. KO, yeah, 3 hits, 3 RBIs. Um, he was their only 3 hits.
Wow.
uh, and one of them was the home run with the RBIs. I thought maybe that would be a good spot to maybe go to Point Pompriant and get the lefty on lefty there, and then come back to Caden Smith for that final inning. But this was supposed to be a 4 game set. Right. The last Sunday game
Right.
gets canceled or canceled early, right? And so the idea, what we ended up seeing in that second game of Saturday was Pompriant starting. So
Right.
that's the stuff you don't know going into it. Coach Hannas was maybe trying to save back that lefty arm. Whereas if Pompriant was probably available that day, that's probably a spot he comes in. Um, you don't know really what's going on with Anna. We haven't seen him since the early parts of the season. He's maybe
Hmm.
working on something. He could be dealing with a little bit of an injury. Um, so we're just not sure what we got really coming out of the left-handed bullpen if Pontbriand isn't fully available.
Right.
Um, but again, no harm, no foul. It didn't hurt us in the end. That's probably his thought process too. If we can get past this one lefty, he
Right.
can't end the game for us.
Exactly.
So we get past him, no matter what, we got a good chance to win this game. But
That
yeah,
reminds
offensively,
me,
go
I,
ahead.
I want to say one thing. You mentioned left-handed pitching. I'm thinking to myself, I know we have Pombriant. I know we've tried Anna. But are there any other? I'm looking at our roster. Like, there's not really that many
There's not.
left-handed. Yeah. And I feel
There's
like we
not. And I
had
think that was one of the reasons we talked about Anna early in the season, even coming into the season, we talked about,
yeah.
being interested in him because left-handed bullpen arms was
Right.
a bit of a premium. But when you look at it too, the coach could be saying, "Look, this guy's got 2 hits on our best lefty."
Yeah. Yeah. No. No.
So
That's fair. That's
he
that's a
could
good point.
he
Want to give him a
could
different. Yeah.
he could have been looking at it like, you know what, hey, he's got 2 hits against our best lefty. Let's give him a righty and see what happens. And
That's a
well,
good point.
we saw it. But turns out the kid's just a really good hitter.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Sometimes you tip your hat and walk away. We got a lot of really good hitters too, but we'll go ahead and move on to Saturday
Yeah.
because we can talk about them as we do it. Well, we'll get to it on Sunday because there really wasn't a lot of offense, and well, we had 11 hits, 2 runs, one of those
Yeah,
games.
that was interesting.
Just one of those games, a 2-0. Michael Sine with an absolute gem. Another one. He's 3-0. How about 7-0? All right, with your Friday and Saturday night guys.
Yeah.
Uh, Absolutely fantastic. What'd you think of Sine and the boys throwing?
Yeah, I think Sine just continues his just run of a incredible start to a freshman year. He also was recognized as, I think, the AAC Pitcher of the Week. Well deserved. When he goes 7 1/3 with 6 strikeouts and no walks and no earned runs. Just really, really solid work from him. And the more I watch him, he's just a pitcher, Like he really pitches, uses his different pitches. He's only a freshman, so he's not really in a place right now where he's going to overpower hitters per se. He's got good size, so more velo may come down the line, but like right now, the way he's able to just pitch, locate, spin it, his slider, being able to just hit different spots. And on top of that, as we all know, pitching is a very mental game, and he has a lot of poise and maturity for a freshman. And I think the experience he's had, pitching with the Czech Republic or Czechia in um, these different international competitions, I think that
Yeah.
really grounds you and makes
Yeah.
you, when you're pitching in just a college game in March, kind of like lowers the heart rate a little bit. I'm sure it
Well,
does.
it's definitely a bigger environment than your typical high school game,
Yeah,
right? And so when you're
absolutely.
looking, usually you have freshmen coming in. That's one of the adjustments. How do they adjust from going from, if you're playing in my areas, how do you go from playing in cow pastures to stadiums? Um, and he didn't have to really make that adjustment. He'd kind of already played in some of those big games, like you talked about.
Right.
How about just a shout out to the pitching across the board? I mean, combined both teams, 2 walks, one hit by pitch.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. No, it was a well-pitched
so
game, that's for
it
sure.
was, yeah, absolutely in the
And
zone.
then again, Columbia going to the weekend, we didn't really think pitching was their thing. Meanwhile, they have a guy come in. There are 6 innings, one earned run. That guy pitched well.
Mhm.
And then Ethan Sutton came in and got the save for us.
Yep.
1 2/3 innings, one strikeout. I think he got into a little bit of trouble in the last inning. Let me see what that was. Yeah, yeah. The bases were loaded. Bases were loaded there in the top of the ninth. And he got it done. He got it
Got
done.
out.
He got it done. That's what matters.
Hmm.
And hey, I mean, in a 2-run game, the bases loaded and 2 outs. I mean, shoot, a single right there ties the game. So that was a high pressure spot. So Ethan Sutton is showing that he can handle uh, a high leverage situation like that. And kind of quoting Coach Hannas again, things he's told us in the past is when he looks for his closers, he's looking for more between the ears than he's looking for even stuff, really. He's just trying to see, can somebody handle those situations? And that's a good example of handling a situation like that. And that bodes well as we get into these, what will likely be more challenging conference games.
Absolutely. Well, we did say it was a little challenging offensively, but do want to highlight Brad Keylori had a 3-hit day, Lance Triple had a 3-hit day, and Jack Lutz had a 2-hit day. So we did have some Bulls that were hitting 11 hits. Now I realize I just named off 3, 6,
Nine of the hits or like eight
yeah,
of
I
the
just,
hits.
3 people got most of them. I get
Right.
it. So, and that's probably, that's when you want to figure out how we don't score with 11 hits. Well, that's why, because all the hits are
Yeah.
congregated kind of in spots, and you're not really getting to chain a couple together.
Right.
Especially for a team like we said doesn't hit a lot of home runs. We'll talk about the flip side of that when we get to the Jacksonville game, I think. But when you're not that team and you're not hitting a lot of home runs as a team, well, that just means you need a couple people to hit in succession. You got to chain them together in order to get some runs going, to get a big inning going. You get the walk, and then you get the error that you can kind of get those big innings. And we just didn't get that. But sometimes your pitching's got to win games, and that's what happened.
Yeah. And I'll have to give also, I know we've mentioned his name already, but Brad Keylori has really had a tendency for clutch hits this season. In big situations where you really need it, he'll come through. And he did something similar in this game. It was the bottom of the seventh. We were only leading 1-0. There were two outs with a runner on second, I want to say, or third.
Mhm.
And he drove in that run, which is a critical insurance run at that point. And
Absolutely.
Brad Key getting hits was a trend this past week. He's had a really, really strong week statistically, and his season stats are rising as part of it too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's move on into Sunday. Or I'm sorry,
Or
this
do
was
you
the
mean
second half of
later in
Saturday.
the
These
day?
get me
Yes.
them double headers get me every time. So
Yeah.
this was
Yeah.
the second half of Saturday. Landon O'Donnell will get the win in this one, his second win of the season. However, as I mentioned, Dominic Pontbriand got the start. Jorge de Cardenas kind of piggybacked off of him, then led to O'Donnell with Bernard finishing it off. Kind of felt like, and I mentioned this in our chat, kind of felt like this was a midweek game, and it kind of how we handled that. Um, and when you kind of think about where it is in the schedule, it's kind of weird. But what'd you think about our quartet here?
Yeah, we ran out Pompriant, Jorge de Cardenas, Landon O'Donnell, and Nolan Bernard. Um, Dominic Pompriant had a pretty decent start, 3 innings, two earned runs, one strikeout, no walks, no hit by pitches. So he's not giving away anything for free. He got hit a little bit. He gave up six base hits, two earned runs. But for a freshman who ultimately for this season, his role, like you said, may end up being more as a reliever, especially considering that we might really need a left-handed reliever. Um, I think he's showing the fact that he can be stretched out to 3 innings, maybe even longer. He did that in opening weekend, I think, with versus Illinois. He had another longer outing. So he's another nice freshman to have available for different roles. The Cardenas continues his very strong pitching this season. And you're right, it kind of was treated like a midweek because that's kind of where he had been getting his appearances as well. But for him to get 3 innings, only one earned run, solid outing as well. Landon O'Donnell struggled a little bit, an inning, two earned runs, one walk, three hits allowed. And then it was good to see Nolan Bernard get himself a strong bounce back outing after one or two rough outings. 2 innings, one earned run to finish off the game, which was still a relatively close game there until the end. So um, pretty happy to see that as well.
Yeah, again, I was pretty, it's hard, we gave up 6 runs, but in the end, I was pretty pleased. I was actually very pleased with the Cardenas. I think he's going to play a real key role for us later on down the road. Especially when we talk about, you talk about Alisea, maybe needing, maybe a break here or there. Maybe that's where De Cardenas kind of comes in on a Friday night after Alisea has a short night, right? We're kind
Yeah,
of giving him a little bit of a break. We'll give the
yeah,
Cardinals in there to kind of piggyback that to get us into our back end again to give him those rests. I think there's really not a better time to point this out, but a fun stat for the Bulls: we have 10 pitchers on the roster right now that are sub 4 ERA.
yeah,
And so there are options, right? There's
yeah,
options across the board that we can get guys in, get guys rest. And I thought this was just another example of that. Things never really got out of hand, and we didn't have to let them get out of hand.
right.
We had somebody we could go to, and I think it's really a big difference for me this season to last season. I think there were times, especially in these games where we're getting stretched out, a 4 game set or in a midweek, where you're just like, man, I don't even know who we're going to bring in next, and I
Yeah,
don't even know if who we're bringing in is better than what we got now.
right.
Um, but I don't feel that this year with our pitching staff, and that's really really cool.
Yeah,
It was a fantastic offensive day, though. They made up for that first game kind of slump. Multi-hit games from Ryan Pruitt, Brad Keylori, and Jake Kulikowski. I mean, that's 6 hits from your top hitters, top 3 hitters. That's pretty awesome. Eli Thomas adds a 3-hit day. Um, Gabe Grollo gets a start and gets a hit in this one. I'm gonna say it every time he starts, man. There, it's sad that we're in a world where he's not playing every day. It really is, but that's where we are because of the guys that we got running the outfield right now. But man, what'd you think about the offense?
yeah. I mean, I think Gabe Grillo really deserves a shout out because his base hit that he got there in the seventh inning was was critical. I think
Mhm.
that the game was we only had like a 1 run lead. Let me see what the
Yeah,
score was. It
that
was
is true. That one
I
broke
think
it
it,
open in the bottom of the
I
seventh.
want to say we were tied 4-4.
We were.
Yeah, we were tied 4-4,
Hmm.
and Gabe Grollo was clutch, man. I mean, uh, for this season where he's had limited opportunities to keep himself ready to play at a high level when he does get those opportunities to get clutch hit like that in a game that Columbia was desperate to win that game. I mean, they don't nobody wants to get swept, and they were battling hard to it was 4-4 in the seventh inning. I mean, that's a tight ball game, and for him to kind of just break it open like that with a
Yeah.
bases clearing double
Yeah.
is huge. Yeah.
Yeah, what I really like about him and what's crazy about it is, and I tweeted about it, but he just has very easy pop. The ball just jumps off of his bat. His swing is really simple. He just kind of he's got his hands loaded back. It's a real simple foot up, foot down. There's not a real big leg kick. There's not a lot of body exchange. In that double we talked about, I believe it was a 3-2 battle pitch, and he
Yep.
just looks like he's just flipping his wrists out there, kind of throwing the bat at it, and the
Yeah.
ball just flies.
Yeah. It really
You know,
carried over that center
it
fielder's
carried
head.
well over him, it almost got
Hmm.
out. And again,
Hmm.
when you look at him, he's just battling. He's just flipping the bat out there. Just ball just really pops off his bat. I remember one of his first at bats, it was a fly out to right center. But when you saw the hit, you're like, man, that's a bloop. But then you look and it's like three-quarters of the way through, out into the outfield. And I was just like, oh, wait a minute. Um, hmm,
Yeah.
what if he squares this thing up?
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Um, real easy pop out of him. I think when he's, as we get in these next couple of seasons, when he's an everyday hitter, um, he could have some real prolific home run seasons for
Oh
us.
yeah.
But
And don't rule out him getting more involved this year either. I mean, just we'll
it
see what
could, yeah,
happens. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially if he can really put together some real power hits like that, because that is
Absolutely.
that is the one thing the lineup's missing.
Right.
It does need a little bit more of a jolt.
Yeah.
Um, don't get me wrong, I love the guys we got that'll knock it down and beat it out. That's inject that in my veins, but
Sure.
we do need a little pop.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the guys that really was providing a good amount of pop for a while, and still has it, of course, but been struggling a little bit lately is Nate Early. Was a little bit struggled a little bit this past week. But there's somebody who likely will turn it around quickly, and when he does, that's a guy that could bring the pop. But if he gets into a plateau situation or something where he could, because he's a left-handed bat who
Mhm.
plays first, but also could play the outfield if needed.
Yeah, yeah.
So there could be some different opportunities for other guys to get involved, but hopefully he'll get back on his solid ways soon.
Yeah, yeah. Juan Correa is another name. That's another guy that I'm sure Mitch Hannahs is looking at it saying, "Man, I got to find a way to get this guy more at bats."
Yeah,
But it's gonna be interesting. I think we've said it multiple times. It's a great problem to have. Yeah, when you got multiple guys that you're just trying to figure out a way to get them in. Um, but all right, well, quickly. Oh, I didn't even open up. Do you have any notes for the Sunday game? I'm gonna be honest. I only watched a couple innings of it, and
no,
then when I came back, it was
it
weather
got
delay,
it
and
got
then
canceled.
done. Yeah.
I know I saw Ryan Pruitt hit a home run, but it's not going to
He
count.
did. He did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which that's something to point out, man. Ryan's really playing well for us at the top of the order.
yeah, he is.
He's added some pop. I mean, I think he leading our team in home runs. I don't know if that says, what that really says, considering I think, it's his second, right? So, um, but no, I just want to point out he's been really fantastic for us at the top of the order. Providing pop and speed. Had a couple. I think he had a stolen base that game as well. He was really shaping up to having a really good game before it got canceled by the weather. And that was something we kind of thought was going to happen. They've been
Yeah,
playing the times around the whole time. So, but we'll go ahead and move up to the midweek if we can, and that was a offensive explosion. Caden Smith gets the win Will Allen got the start, and then Lawson Gailey finished it off. What were your thoughts when we started watching that game on Tuesday night? Tuesday afternoon. They moved that up to 3 o'clock.
Yeah, I didn't get to catch too much of it because of the time change. That's like my prime, like finishing up work and commuting home time.
Hmm.
But obviously, get home and see what's going on and follow what's going on. And I was glad to see that Will Allen got an opportunity again because it had been a while since we had seen him. And he's a freshman right-handed pitcher.
He's a big boy,
Yeah,
right?
I know. Yeah,
I did not realize that. And
yeah,
yeah, until I saw him going, I was just like, who is that?
he's
I was
six
like, ooh,
four, 6'4", 210 from Warner Robins, Georgia, which is
okay.
it's a place that I feel like I see that name a lot because of their Little League
Yeah.
success.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and yeah, no, he looks good, man. 3 2/3, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, 2 earned runs, 60 pitches. And for the season, I mean, I think he's probably only pitched maybe around 10 innings, maybe a little less than that. But I mean, that speaks to the depth of this pitching staff where you have a
Yep.
freshman who's that talented, who's pitching that well, who is, just trying to find opportunities here and there. I think there was a midweek the week before where I thought he would get involved and he didn't get a chance.
I'm blown away, man.
Yeah.
I'm blown away by, I mean, we know about the hitters, the freshman hitters, Thomas Lutz, Grollo, put Silvers in that category, right? And then you look at Sine, you got Will Allen, you got Dominic Pontbriand. It, if Rob Higgins backs the Brinks truck up and we can keep this class here,
Oh
this
yeah.
freshman class could be one of the most prolific and successful freshman classes we've had. Uh,
Absolutely.
period. I mean, just the talent that's on here that if they can develop, I mean, we've got the future. We've got a future rotation already ready.
Oh
We've
yeah.
got a core lineup already producing.
Absolutely.
For us as we're going that of freshmen, right? And we're not talking about the transfers that are helping us, like Jake Kulikowski, who's added the power pop.
Hmm.
These are kids that were playing high school baseball last season.
Yep.
Um, so I'm just blown away by that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely offensive explosion. Juan Correa is going to get into this one. He comes in early. Sorry, pardon the pun. Comes in early for early because of Coach Platoon this one. They started with a righty, came to a lefty, so he went with Correa in the second at bat. He ends up going 2 for 2. Has a great day. Had a great week. Jack Lutz has a great day. Lance Triple had a great day, and Jake Kulikowski. And I'll touch on him kind of after you're done because I was really impressed with his game and particularly the final play. But go ahead. What were you thinking offensively?
Yeah, I think it was actually this game was a continuation of a trend of like certain guys that have just been hot. Like Jack Lutz was hot the weekend against Columbia, and he goes 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs in this game. So he's keeping it going. Lance Triple was also hot in the series against Columbia. He goes 2 for 3. So it's like there's a certain handful of guys right now that are really hot and they're keeping it going. Um, but this offense actually, you could make an argument that it's not clicking on all cylinders because there are some capable bats as well that are struggling a little bit. And if you get those guys back to their normal games, I mean, yeah, it's hard to say struggling when he scored 13 runs, but I mean the individuals, certain individuals,
But I think that's what's so awesome about this lineup
yes,
because you can't, no one's going to be hot the whole
of
season,
course, of course,
and that's kind of how it. But when you've got 3 or 4 guys that are hot this week, you got 3 or 4 guys that are hot next week, you got a different little 3 or 4 guys that
that's
are
all you
hot this
need.
one. You're winning a lot of baseball games.
Absolutely. And that's
You know,
why,
I
and that's why you
it,
look up and our record is 18-3
18 and
because
3.
because like when you have 10 guys that are actually legitimately good and only like 5 of them are hot that week, well, that's 5 hot hitters. Well, the other 5 are a little cold. No, big deal. They'll be hot
Mhm.
the following week.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
most teams only have 5 good hitters, and like half of them go cold. Now you only have 2 good hitters. So it's like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, second fun fact of the week. going along with our first fun fact, Bulls have 10 hitters batting over 300,
Yeah.
including 8 of the 9 quote unquote, starters. We know we've got some, it's really about 12, right? That he
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
works in and out. But 8 of those 9 are batting over 300, and Ryan Pruitt's the ninth, and he's batting 299. So, I
Yeah.
mean, just it's a again, we've said a great problem to have. We got a lot of really good hitters, and I felt like Coach did a good job here with this being the last game before we get into conference game that he really got all of those guys in. He subbed out like we talked about. Correa came in for Nathan Early. He ends up bringing in Matt Rose for Eli Thomas. He brings in Gabe Grollo for Jacob Green. So all of those guys got at bats. I mean, one, two, you got the 9, 10, 11, 12 guys get at bats. Um, in this game. And so I just felt like it was a really good opportunity, even though it ended in 7. And that may have been something he was thinking about when he was getting a lot of these guys in early, versus late was, hey, I need to get them in now. This thing might not go as long as we need it to. If we wait 9, we might not get some guys in. Um, but just the way this game ended, if you weren't watching the game, the way this game ended to me is the epitome of why this team is good and why this team wins without hitting home runs, which is really the conventional way of baseball today is to just mash your way to the top and then strike a lot of guys out on the other side. We do strike a lot of guys out, no doubt, right? We're pretty good on that end.
Yeah.
But we also can get outs on the back end. But maybe we're not mashing it like all these prolific offenses are, but this team constantly applies pressure. It's pressure, pressure, pressure. We have the lowest strikeout percentage in the conference. We don't strike out. Instead of striking out, our guys are perfectly capable and comfortable with just flipping that ball out on the ground and saying, you know what, throw me out. And when you do that constantly, they're going to make mistakes. And we see that happening. We saw it happen on this last play. We had runners on second and third. We had Jelliman Relaford on second. I'll get to him in a minute because it was fantastic for him too. Jake Kuligowski's in the box. Jake Kuligowski is, if we have a power hitter, it's him, right? I think he got a home run. He got a home
Yep.
run in this one too. Um, and I know he got a double and he got a couple doubles in the Columbia series. If we've got a power threat, it's Jake Kulikowski.
Yep.
Um, but he hits I believe it's him that hits the ground ball to first.
Yep.
And so when you think of a power hitter hits a ground ball to first, usually what happens? They clap their hands, they say, "Oh,
Right.
darn."
Yeah.
They might trot it out the box, right? No, dog. He's hauling butt out the
Mm-hmm.
box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Taking off. You do not beat a first baseman to first base if you are not if you didn't make the decision to do that immediately in the box.
Yep.
You take 2 or 3 jog steps and then decide, "Oh, I want to try to beat him." Doesn't happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how this team plays. It's constantly applying that pressure, and you're going to make mistakes. And guess what? They did. He fielded that ball, thought it was routine. It was anything but routine. You better get on your horse. He didn't do it. He doesn't get the out. Now, what are they thinking? Oh, crap. They just tied the game, right? Man beat me, just tied the game. No, we didn't tie the game. We won the game because the man on second decided as soon as the ball was hit, he was scoring.
Yep.
He didn't wait to see, oh, maybe I've got a shot when I get to third. No, when the ball was hit, he decided on a ground ball to first base that he was going to score. And he rounds third and he scores. That's how this team wins. There is just a commitment top to bottom that no matter what, we're going to play ball, we're going to apply pressure. And if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to do it, right? You can't, it's nothing, anything but routine. I loved it. I was jumping up and down. I didn't care anything about the fact that I forgot the fact that we had won. It's just how that play played out. Oh, loved it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a culture that's been instilled, and now like we're in year 2 of Coach Hanna's, and he's got all pretty much guys that he recruited himself. So not only are like they his recruits, but he's added more time to coach them, and like there's definitely a buy-in to the system and to the way that he wants the team to play. And like what you're explaining there is a perfect example of it.
It fires me up because I mean that's where you take baseball games away.
Yep.
That's where it's not about, whether or not you hit or not. That is just competition. I'm gonna win. right? And if you're gonna win, you're gonna have to play and you're gonna have to beat me, right? But I'm not rolling over. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving in. I'm not gonna try to hit it into orbit, on two strikes because that's what I do. No, what I do is I put it out there and we play ball, right? And then we're gonna play. It fires me up. I said it. This team has to lead the nation in hustle RBIs, where the guy takes off out of the box, and because he beats out whatever happens at first, we get a run. I can think of two or three times it's happened with Thomas, beat out a double play, right? Man on first, first and the most common time it happens, right, is first and third, one out, guy hits a ground ball, they get the double play, they're out of the inning. Well, if the guy beats it out, we get a run, right? And that's happened for us a few times. But just fantastic. I love it. You have anything else we want to kind of talk about, just rounding out the week for the Bulls?
No, I think we covered everything.
Yeah, yeah. All right, fantastic. Well, if you had an opportunity to check out X, I did post this week's power rankings for the AAC. Mark, we're not going to get too into it here. We talked about it. It was a disappointing weekend if you were at the top, unless you were a Bulls fan. We did
It's
what we were supposed to. Those guys didn't. Um, but you can look into that. Like I said, it had some shakeup. And I do want to point out, shout out to real quickly. Was it Charlotte beat South Carolina in a midweek? So that's a huge win for the
sure.
conference. But yeah, just a really disappointing week, I guess, overall for the conference. But just real quick on the power rankings, I think I got a lot of flack for a few of the spots, but I thought this weekend was a little bit where it was like, hey,
Kind of proved the
maybe
point.
there's something there,
Yeah,
maybe there's something there.
yeah,
Um, just a disappointing weekend for
it
UTSA
was. Yeah.
overall.
And Tulane
Uh,
too. I didn't like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, this week is a big week. This week we get into conference play. We are actually going to start ours off with what I think is probably one of the more intriguing matchups of the week. It's actually a 11.7 pick'em if you are in that. That is we've actually been this is our third. Our Illinois series was a pick'em, UCF series was a pick'em, and now this one was a pick'em. Look, if you're not listening to those guys, you should. They're Bulls fans, and they give us a lot of love. But very interesting series. Bulls are 5-1 against Rice. We got swept in 2024. We did pick up the one win in the series last season, which was interesting because that was where we run ruled on Friday and then got run ruled on Saturday, which was a really
That was
weird
weird.
trend that the Bulls
I
had
remember
last
that.
year. It happened two or three times. I remember UCF was another series last season where that happened, but
Yeah.
Rice was one of them. And you know what? I know they're not at the top of the rankings now. Um, but David Pierce is a great coach. They've got some good talent, and I think the Bulls are going to have to pack their lunch as we go after this one, Mark. But what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough matchup. It's a great way to open conference play against a team that is playing very good baseball right now. In their last 13 games, they are 10-3. So they are playing just as good a baseball as anybody in the conference. They just had a weekend in which they played 4 games against different teams from out west. They won the first 3 games of that, and they dropped the final game, but they had a really solid weekend overall. They're playing good, and what's interesting about them, they've actually played a pretty challenging strength of schedule thus far throughout the season. Warren Nolan has them as the 84th hardest strength of schedule in the country. And for reference, our strength schedule for the season is like 193. Not necessarily the toughest thus far. Granted, we have played some really good teams such as UCF. However, they've played a tough schedule. They are winning games. Now, one other thing I'll say about them is I wouldn't say that anything stands out particularly statistically. Like they're not necessarily an incredible pitching team or an incredible hitting team, but the main observation I have on my research of them is they do have like 5 really good hitters, and if all 5 of them are on, then yes, they could be pretty dangerous. And the rest of their lineup is kind of struggling. Like for example, we're familiar with this guy, Boca Chica, the shortstop. He's playing every day. He's batting leadoff, and he's batting like 150 or something like that. So, however, there's like I said, there's 4 to 5 guys that are hitting well. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and Boca Chica could have just been a Bulls killer because I don't know that he particularly had a great season last season, but he did well against us.
Yeah, he did.
It's just one of those things. They have had you mentioned their schedule. I mean, they had to play USC, who is an absolute wrecking ball this season.
Yep.
Um, I mean, if you're interested in pitching, you need to watch a USC series because they're going to show you how to. The pitching is phenomenal. I think the guy gave up his first earned run. Their Friday night guy gave up his first earned run of the season this past weekend in their series against Northwestern in the snow. And I want to point that out because if you listen to the 11.7 podcast that came out earlier today, I didn't watch that game, but apparently, I mean, he went out and he ended up throwing like 84 pitches in the snow. And I guess there was a bit of a game break, not a game break, but there was like USC scored a bunch of runs in between like the fourth and the fifth. And like there was like discussion like, hey, the guy's throwing 60 pitches and you're going to dominate this game. Like, maybe don't bring him back in. Like maybe this is a game to give him a little bit of a break since it's snowing. Didn't they threw him back out there? He ends up giving up an earned run, but they're pitching pretty phenomenally. So I mean, that's three of their losses. They got the Abilene Christian win. That's a pretty good win. They're coming off a midweek game against UTRGV RVG. I can't say that one. That one gets me every
Rio
time.
Grande Valley.
Yeah, Rio Grande. Yeah, that's a pretty good win for them. Like I said, this is a very experienced coach. This coach knows how to win. He knows, it's not going to be an off night, off
Yeah.
season
Yeah, let's not, I know we talked about him like in the preseason podcast, but let's not forget who David Pierce is.
Mhm.
I mean, he was
Yeah,
the head coach of the University of Texas for X amount of years, took them to Omaha X amount of times. Like he's a big time college baseball coach, and
yep,
Rice is a big time brand actually in college baseball historically. And those two forces are kind of coming together now to kind of like restore some pride, I think, in that program. And but we would like to dent that pride quite a bit this weekend.
absolutely. And I think it's actually a really, really good opening series for us. We're gonna get it at home. We're comfortable at home. We're 15-1 at home. Uh, Last loss was in the opening weekend to Illinois. So we're comfortable at home. They're a good team, right? They're a team we're going to have to get up for. We're not going to be able to overlook. We're not going to be able to cruise through like maybe, you don't want to say that any series in this conference is a cruise, but Memphis is probably a lot of people are maybe overlooking Memphis and they're going to steal a series because of it at some point. But it's a good challenging series. I think they're going to challenge and it's going to be good because the next one does not. I mean, the next one is probably the biggest, series of the year, the way it's shaping up.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
With
honestly, we're about to enter a pretty challenging stretch. I'm looking at our season, who we've played so far on pairratings.com,
Mhm.
and we have only played 2 series and 6 total games against teams that are top 100 in the RPI. That was three
Yep.
games against Illinois, who's number 79, and that was 3 games against UCF, who's number 32. Everybody else we played has been outside of the top 150.
Hmm.
So bottom half of college baseball.
Yeah.
And now we're about to play Rice, who's number 78. So they're
Hmm.
top 100. Florida Gulf Coast is number 46, and Charlotte is number 57. So our next 7 games are against top 80 competition.
Yeah.
So it's great that we're on this winning streak, but if you can do it against this competition, then it's like,
Hmm.
whoa, like, all right, now we're really
Yep.
cooking.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like you said, it's going to be a real telling stretch here,
Yeah.
and challenging,
Oh, yeah.
and I think it's going to start with this Rice series. We're going to have to jump on them. Hopefully, we can come out on Friday and Saturday and make Sunday kind of a playing with house money type of situation. But
Yeah. And
it's
I
going
have
to be good.
a little
Go ahead. Yeah.
insight too about Rice's pitching staff. I did a little bit of research earlier. So I think they were not too happy with what they were getting out of their Friday night starter initially.
Mm.
Braden Sanders, I think he was a Tennessee transfer, Braden Sharp maybe, but they moved him to the bullpen and they gave another guy a chance this past Friday, Tanner Wiggins, a right-handed pitcher who ironically is also a Tennessee Volunteers transfer, and it was his first start. He pitched like 6 innings, only gave up 1 run. And he throws really hard. He throws 94, 95 miles an hour, maybe even harder.
Mm.
So on tomorrow night, if they go back to him, which I don't see why they wouldn't, he just had a great start in his first start. We're going to be facing a high velo arm, assuming that Tanner Wiggins gets the start tomorrow night. On Saturday, they usually roll out a guy named Ryland Urbank, who has spent his whole career at Rice. He's actually having a good season for them. And on Sunday, they will likely roll out freshman right-handed pitcher Ethan Sanders, who has actually been maybe their most productive pitcher thus far. He's got like 30 strikeouts and only 6 walks. So he's been a really strong freshman pitcher for them, similar to how Michael Sane has been for us. So, I mean, if this Tanner Wiggins guy on Friday is like the missing piece to their rotation, which is what they think they might have, I mean, they could be could be a
Yeah.
really tough pitching matchup this weekend. Well, where I will say I feel like we will have an edge would be in the bullpen. I feel like they don't have
Yeah.
anywhere near the bullpen depth that we do.
Yeah.
Um, but again, it's amazing to be this far into the season and to be able to say we got this many guys over 300, this many guys under four. But now let's see who bats 300 during this 7 game stretch against top 80 teams, who
Yeah.
keeps their ERA low under top 80 teams. Because then it's kind of like, when the competition gets
Mhm.
tough, the cream rises to the top. And the whole team might be the cream. I hope that it is. But we'll
We'll
see.
find out.
Yes. Yeah.
Y- So this Wiggins kid you said is from Tennessee?
Yeah, he transferred to Tennessee.
You
Yep.
think they traded Blaine Brown for this kid? Think that
I
was
know,
just a
right?
straight
That's a
up?
that's a great point. That's a great point because
I don't
I
know if they
think
won, but
that's a great point. It's a great point.
uh, no, that's interesting. Well, I, I'm just excited to see it at this point. I think we're all getting. You look around on Twitter. There's a lot of people you don't typically see posting about baseball that are starting to start posting about baseball.
Exactly.
I think it's starting now. Again, rightfully so. I think everyone's kind of been distracted with basketball, but now that basketball is over, I think the time is right for kind of people to start kind of flocking over to this baseball team. And people love winners. And so they're going to look at that roster and they're going to look at that record and be like, yeah, I think I need to get on board.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
All right. Well, do you want to talk about any of our other conference mates before we get out of here?
Yeah, let's just take a quick glance at what the matchups are for this weekend. I'll have to pull that
Real
up.
quick, I got them right here.
Oh, cool. Perfect.
Oh well, I did. I was on the wrong. Here we go. So Rice and South Florida. Then you've got Charlotte at Wichita State, UAB at East Carolina, UTSA at Florida Atlantic, and then Memphis at Tulane. Oddly enough, I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, like when you look at the power rankings, I think there's a lot of like, Florida Atlantic, UTSA, that's kind of people that are right there. East Carolina, UAB are all kind of right there battling it out. Tulane and Memphis are at the bottom. So, I mean, a lot of teams right here that kind of make some statements. Which one stands out to you?
I think UTSA is visiting FAU, you said?
Is visiting FAU. That was kind of the second one I was looking
That's
at.
going to
Like,
be really interesting.
I think that's going to be a watershed moment for both of those teams.
Yeah, oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. I think I was feeling really good about FAU going to last weekend, and then really didn't play well last weekend, so I was kind of
yeah.
disappointed to see that. But the
Yeah.
other series you mentioned sounded interesting too. Wichita State against Charlotte, is that right?
hmm And Wichita State, that's another one. They put up 30 runs last week against I can't remember who they were playing, but in one of their games they put up 30 runs, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, I
hard to
saw
do.
that. I know. That's like
Um,
two killer offenses, I think, Wichita State and Charlotte. So
yeah, yeah, Wichita State's got a really good offense. There's a lot of questions about, their schedule. But again, we talked about it in our preseason breakdown. They've got like 30 some odd juniors and seniors. There's a lot of veterans on that squad. And so again, I think that's and Charlotte's a little vulnerable right now.
Yeah.
They dropped a couple recently. Close games. I think theirs were like 2-1s and then like a 9-8, which is kind of unusual because they're the second best pitching team in the conference as well. It's kind of why they stayed at the top of the power rankings for those couple of weeks because they were, kind of at the top with hitting, but their pitching was at the top as well, and their
Right.
defense actually played really, really good defense. But that could be an interesting series there. I think I'm going to go with Charlotte in the end. I just think they're going to be able to outpitch Wichita.
That's probably true. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I don't think Wichita has. I mean, when I saw that Wichita was like struggling to contain West Georgia's offense, I was like, yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
But yeah. So another interesting one though is UAB at East Carolina. UAB is actually coming on strong with their offense, and East Carolina is still hanging in there. I mean, they haven't hit
Look,
all cylinders, but they have a good pitching staff.
yeah, look, I mean, I love our pitching rotation. I really do. Right? And there's a lot of bias in that. I'm not gonna try to act like there's not. But, you know, I could not argue with somebody if they walked in and said East Carolina's got the best rotation in the conference. They probably might have the best rotation in the conference. And somehow they lost a game and their starter had 14 strikeouts.
That's insane.
Um, Gavin, we all know about Norby. He's got all the accolades and the preseason talk. So and he's had some struggles, but he's still who he is. He's still missing a lot of bats. But I mean, what they've got going on Friday on Saturday with Gavin Van Kampen is, I mean, you just wonder how they're losing. Well, they're losing because their offense is stinking right now.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
mean,
they're going to wake up.
yeah,
At some point they're going to wake up. We just hope it doesn't happen like it did last season and they wake up in the conference tournament.
right. Right. Yeah. No, it's going to
But
be a
hey,
great weekend of
on that
opening
note,
AAC
hopefully
play.
we win enough games that we don't care about the
I
conference
was about to
tournament.
say that.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
All righty. Well, do you got anything else before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, I think that kind of wraps it up for the week. We'll have a player interview coming out next week. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned to learn who it is. But we're excited about that.
Yeah, we are excited about it. There's a poll out there. If you check John's Twitter,
Yep.
he posted.
You can guess who it
You can
is.
guess who that might be. We don't have a prize, but but it's
Prize
fun
is
to
being
play, right?
right or wrong.
Make sure you are you liking and subscribing to our podcast on whatever you're watching, whether that's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or I don't know, some other random place that I probably don't know about because I don't really know that much about technology. But like us, follow us, give us a comment. Everything helps. We absolutely appreciate it. But until next time, Bulls fans, go Bulls.
Go Bulls.